How you doing, everybody? This is Jonathan, your fitness business management expert, and in this video I'm going to go over the ACE personal training certification review. I just took the ACE certification exam about a month ago, and I mentioned the ACE certification as one of the certifications that you may want to get if you're first getting into training. Of course, I'm only going to do reviews on the certifications that I get. So I've done a CrossFit one, I'm doing an ACE one now, I'm going to get NSCA, then maybe I'll do NASM ISSA, NFPT, and then whatever kind of requests you guys may have. But let's talk about the ACE certification because I can give you a lot of information about that. Now, as with all my reviews, we're going to go in order. We're going to go over cost, then we're going to go over study process, then we're going to go over testing process, then we're going to go over efficacy in 3 parts. Number 1, does it help you to build programs well? Number 2, does it help you to spot well? And number 3, does it help you to get paid? Because at the end of the day, you're really only getting the certification because you're looking for employment as a trainer. So let's start off with cost. Now, when I first decided to get the ACE certification, I essentially went to the website, and I'm the type of person that worries that he's not going to know everything. So in terms of the study material, I bought it all, and I bought the 3rd edition. So with the 3rd edition, I had the home study program. The manual itself, I lent it to somebody to study. It looks like this. This is the previous edition. So I got the manual, which is almost about as thick as this binder. I got the muscular skeletal anatomy and movement book. I got the massive manual guide. I got the home study course. I got the audio CDs, and I got the flashcards. And I used all this stuff to study for the certification. And this all cost about, if I remember correctly, about $400. In addition to the study material, you need to have your first aid or AED certification from like Red Cross, and I believe you need a high school or GED, high school diploma or a GED, an equivalent. So you need to have that in order before you even start to think about getting certified with ACE. But in terms of the study material, I think I spent about $400. The test itself is separate from the study material, and it cost $399. So overall, I'd say I spent about $700 for the certification. Now, looking back on it, having gone through it, I can honestly say, as I mentioned in my Best Personal Trainer certification video, that you don't need to buy all of this stuff. All right. The main thing that I really needed was the textbook itself, and the audio tapes were very useful. I'm not sure if they have audio tapes for the 4th version, because the current version, let me take a step back, the current version right now that you would be tested on is the 4th version, and I was a little bit nervous myself, thinking that there was information that was going to be covered in the 4th edition manual, and I only had the 3rd, and I would be completely screwed. But that's not something you have to worry about. You can very easily pass the 4th edition exam with the 3rd edition study material. And moreover, you can get it much cheaper. You don't necessarily have to go to acefitness.org. You can go to amazon.com, type in ACE certification manual or textbook, and you'll find the textbook for somewhere between $45 and $55. And to be honest with you, I think I could have gotten by with the textbook just fine by itself. And you really just read the material. Anything that's in bold, you write down as you're studying, and then you essentially define at the end of the chapter to reinforce what you've learned. But the reading the manual pretty much helped me with everything that I needed to learn on the exam. The only thing that I didn't like about the ACE certification is that, and this is true for the 3rd edition, as I never read the 4th edition manual, the study material, I felt, was just filled with information that got very redundant. Specifically in the cardio chapter, they would talk about well, what's rowing, what's hiking, what's walking, what's cycling, what's it good for, and it's essentially all the same. And so I felt I was reading a lot of information as just fillers, just to fill up the book. And for the most part, that's not much of what I saw on the exam. So it was frustrating in that sense. What I did see a lot of in the exam, believe it or not, the first 3 chapters, at least in the 3rd manual, the first 3 chapters go over physiology, it goes over anatomy, and it goes over kinesiology. I could almost, I'd say about 1/10 of each chapter was covered. A fair amount of time, at least in the master, the manual, and the home study guide, a fair amount of time was spent on going over the blood flow through the heart. And, surprise to me, it was not really covered in the exam at all. The only things that I really needed to know were heartbeat, stroke volume, cardiac output. But in terms of, the amount of energy that they seem to put into the study material, it was a little bit frustrating not to see it on the exam. In terms of anatomy, you don't need to know every single, that's my phone, you don't need to know every single bone in the body. You don't need to know every single muscle in the body. They're not expecting you to become a doctor. They're going to expect you to know how muscles work with the exercises that they have in the book. So when you look at their strength and programming section, if they're talking about, let's say a push-up, they may say, what muscle is working when you're doing your push-up, or when you're going in the up phase. What muscles are you using? Are you using your pectoralis, or are you using your lats? So that's the kind of question that you saw. Not so much, all right, what's the longest muscle in the body, or what muscle is superior to this muscle or deep to this muscle. It doesn't get that deep, because they're not looking for you to be a doctor. They're looking for you to be a trainer. And while that information is helpful, you should be able to identify some of the main muscles. You don't have to understand everything. You don't have to memorize this vertebrae, the 5th vertebrae in the lumbar. It doesn't get that deep. But while I do mention lumbar, what you should be aware of, and this is important because it will come up in training as well as the exam, is the postural deviations. So they go over kyphosis, lordosis, sway back, flat back, and scoliosis. Those are things that you're going to want to know a lot about for the exam. In terms of the anatomy section, and in terms of the kinesiology section, really just understanding the planes of motion and how it relates to the exercises that will be covered later on in the manual, such as the sagittal plane, which will go forward and back, the frontal plane, which will go side to side, splits the body in the front halves and back halves, and the transverse planes, which will split the body into top and bottom, inferior and superior. So you're going to want to know the functions of the heart, not necessarily the anatomy of the heart. You're going to want to know the major muscles that are done during exercise, and you're going to want to know how the body moves in terms of planes. And of course, it's very, very big, postural deviations. That's something that you should pay a lot of attention to and should be able to identify very easily. Now, there's one piece of study material that I did not cover in terms of how I felt I did well. I was actually, 2 days from taking the exam, I was in a car with a friend of mine. She's a nurse, and she said, you don't get prepared for an exam by reading flashcards. You get prepared for exams by taking exams. And that's exactly what I did. I went back to the website, definitely purchased the diagnostics exams. You can't really get them anywhere else. You got to go to ACE. But if you're anything like me, I don't like to take multiple choice exams because I always find a way to make a case for every answer. I'm just like that. So it would be very much in your best interest if you took the diagnostics exams and got those questions wrong early. Because the questions that you're going to get wrong, at least I found in my case, are the stupid ones. Like, of course I know, this is this answer, not that. So it's a lot of getting used to how ACE is going to word their questions, and the best way to prepare for that is their diagnostic exam. So take both of them. Don't worry about any extra flashcards. Get the manual, read through that, go through your definitions, and then get the diagnostic exam. It will make your life a lot easier. Now, if you want to go even further in terms of diagnostic exams, I was still looking for more, because really, after you take it once, you know which questions you're going to see. And the exam, if I remember correctly, is 150 questions for the ACE manual. So you're going to want to go to test.com and search their ACE personal training practice exam. I'll put the link in the description below. But there, they have a number of questions that you will see in similar structure when you take the exam. And the kinds of questions that you'll see, outside of assessing postural deviations, functions of the heart, will be something like, you'll see a lot of these. Gary walks into your gym, he's 55 years old, he's a smoker, he has high cholesterol, he's looking to lose weight, he hasn't worked out in 3 years. What kind of routine do you want to start him off on? Or Cindy walks into the gym, she's 24, she's worked out for 6 months, she's a marathon runner, but she wants to get stronger. What kind of routine should you put her on? And your answers will be more to the tune of how many exercises and your percentage of your 1 rep max that you're going to want to be doing for the exercises. So don't get scared. When you read through the manual, you'll find that it's not that hard. And if you go to test.com and take the ACE diagnostics exam, you'll find that you'll just get used to answering those questions. And I think it'll make the testing process a lot easier for you. Outside of that, what advice would I give you? You have to be on top of your legal things and your safety things, of course. That's something that you're going to see on the exam. But if you take the 2 diagnostics exams given by ACE and you go to test.com, because they have 300 questions, so it's going to be very hard for you to exhaust yourself through the questions. Get them wrong, be able to look through them, and then go like, okay, I understand. Write down what you got wrong, and then remind yourself. The things that you get right, you don't worry about, because it's going to come right to you once you take the exam. And the questions are going to be very similar. Don't think you need to purchase the 4th edition because outside of a few things, the 3rd edition and the 4th edition are essentially the same. And the 3rd edition, while I think a little bit inundated with not useless but redundant information, is an easy enough read that you can get through it. There was one more thing I wanted to say, and if I remember, I'll jump back to it. But efficacy. Number 1, will this help you to program well? If you're somebody that's completely new to personal training, they give you pretty good ideas on how to put together a program for a newbie. If you go by the book, I think it'll be very hard to program somebody incorrectly. While there is a little bit of room left for interpretation in the 3rd edition, perhaps they clear that up in the 4th edition. But if you're going to a gym that has a personal training director that's worth his or her salt, they should be able to fill in the gaps of what kind of training session, what kind of training exercises you want to give your clients that are first starting, because that's what they're there for. And that's why I always say, and I'll say this with every review that I do, you don't want to just jump in, get your cert, and try to go solo. Take some time, learn from somebody a little bit better than you. After a year of solid experience, then you can go on your own. In terms of, will this help you to spot well? I'll just compare this to the CrossFit Level 1 cert, because I just did a video on that. It will definitely teach you verbal cues, and I think this book does a whole lot to try to explain in words how you can spot and motivate people in terms of visual cues versus auditory cues versus actually physically touching your client. It's about as thorough as you can be without seeing it live. So I do think you're going to have a fairly good chance at being successful in terms of helping your clients with this certification. Finally, will this certification get you paid? And to be quite honest with you, the ACE certification it's respected enough in the industry that I think just about any gym will hire you. Right now, I'm at a point where when I see NSCA, like if I go to a local gym and I look at the trainer bios, I essentially just look for NSCA first. But the ACE, the ACE personal training certification is a great start, especially if you're just trying to figure out what you want to do, or you're afraid of the testing process. Get your feet wet, and then if you want to find something a little bit more in depth later, you can. But overall, I can't say that there are many bad things about the ACE certification. I got it. I'll get more. As I get more certifications, I'll be able to compare and contrast one over the other, and perhaps I'll do a longer one at the end after I get another, I don't know, 8, 9, 10. I got time. I got nothing better to do. thing. In terms of cost, you're going to be spending around, you could spend as little as $500 with the $399 to take the exam. That's kind of a given. The $45 to $50 that you're going to spend on the manual if you go on Amazon and buy it used, and another $40 to $50 for the diagnostic exams. So that's how much you're going to be spending. You need to have your high school diploma or GED. You need to have your first aid and AED certification to take the exam. They will ask for it. You can get that through the American Red Cross for like $45. In terms of the study material, I really only think that you need the manual, some dedication, and then you can take the diagnostic exam afterwards. I know there are places that offer classes to teach the ACE cert, but the book is an easy enough read, I think, that you can get through it. And don't be intimidated. If you have the third edition, don't be intimidated by the first 3 chapters, which are a little bit longer and very wordy, full of things that will not be on the exam. So the pathway of the heart, while I think it's important that you know it, it's not something that's going to be on the exam. The sliding filament theory, never came across it, and I didn't need to know as many of the muscles as I studied. But if you understand like the root words to muscles, and descriptive words like deep, superior, inferior, tri, bi, obviously 1, 2, those prefixes will help you to understand what you're looking for if you didn't know the exact muscle or the exact bone or whatever the case may be. In terms of the testing material, it's usually off-site. It's about 150 questions. You got 3 hours. You'll use very, very, very little math. I whipped out that I don't think you can use a calculator. They gave me a little board and a dry erase pen, and I used it maybe once to calculate BMI, and that was it. And they make the numbers very easy and very round that if you wanted to do the math inside your head, you'd be perfectly fine. In terms of the efficacy of the program, yes, do I think it's going to make you good at building programs? Yes, because they have definite ways that you want to approach specific clients. And I guess the testing process and the questions that they do ask in their exam kind of reinforce that, because they're going to expect you to know how to deal with a variety of different clients. So that's what you're going to see a lot of questions with when it comes to the exam. It's going to help you to learn to spot well. Yes, but of course, work at a gym, have somebody watch over you, make sure that you have a good PT director, or always ask questions with your fellow personal trainers that have more experience than you. Don't just try to jump in on your own. Give yourself a year if your long-term goal is to go solo or have your own business or studio. And finally, will it get you paid? Yes, it's a recognizable enough certification in the U.S. that I think you can take it to just about any gym, and they're not going to be like, oh, well, I don't know, we don't really take that. There are some certs like that. That doesn't mean that they're bad. It's just that some gyms tend to look at certs, higher than others. So while ACE isn't the top in terms of respected among the industry, it's not a bad cert. So you can go with it, and then you can seek further knowledge down the line. So, my name is Jonathan. I hope you found this video helpful. Remember to like this video, comment on this video, and add this to your favorites. I will routinely change the location or title of the video for the sake of search engine optimization. So if you always want to have access to this content, make sure to add this to your favorites. If you're on the Facebook, like this video. If you're on Twitter, retweet this video, because there are a lot of other trainers that are out there that would not have access to this information if it wasn't for your help. So, you're getting this information for free. If you find this to be of any value, don't try to pay it back, pay it forward. And finally, if you just happen to stumble upon this channel, subscribe to this channel, as this channel is dedicated toward helping regular folks that are outside of the fitness industry get into the fitness industry as personal trainers, helping personal trainers become better personal trainers or boot camp owners, and helping boot camp owners become better boot camp owners or better business owners. So, if you subscribe to this channel, I promise I will do my best to hold your attention. Now, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, private message me through YouTube, comment below, or private message me on the Facebook. Add me as a friend. The link is in the description box below. Those are the 3 things that I check periodically, and I will do my best to get back to you within a reasonable amount of time. Remember to eat healthy, hydrate, drive safe, stress levels low, get rest, don't slap anybody. I will see you all tomorrow or the next day. Love your clients, they will love you back, and you have a good one.